Hello,
Bonjour
everyone.
tout
My name is Isabelle Lorrain.
Je suis
I
secrétaire
am Secretary of Ensemble pour protéger les enfants.
et je serai
I will be your moderator today. So, welcome to all of you. We hope tonight to have many teachers with us today. We just had our first step of our action plan for the beginning of school year, which was to call on to the teachers by going around many schools for both public and private first year of high school in French and English. We distributed a letter asking them to listen to parents. We hope some teachers will join with us tonight, besides parents and citizens that are concerned with the situation. So the program will go as in this such a way. We will invite our president, Mrs. Anand Massoud, to present APPNE, Ensemble pour protéger nos enfants, the organization which is an alliance of the Collectif des Parents and the Association des Parents Catholiques du Québec. And we will then go to the heart of our presentation on gender ideology, a wolf in the bergerie. So we will have a break during which prepare your questions, because we will have then the question and answer period after. This will follow by an action call, so many different ways to act, and it will be the closing words. So our first speaker today, of whom we're very proud of, Mrs. Naswad, who started this movement, very courageous. Anan, you have the floor to introduce APPNE.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. Your presence as teachers, parents, and supporters means a lot to us. Our association was founded in 2023 after the big parents' demonstration on September 20th. Parents gathered because of their concern about certain ideologies being introduced in schools, which they felt could harm their children. The purpose of our association is simple: to protect and support all children, including those who may be going through a crisis in defining their identity. Every child deserves safety, respect, and care. Together with your support, we can make sure schools remain places of education and protection. Thank you again for being here with us.
Merci, Anan.
Thank you, Anan. I will now take over I will go into the matter of this lecture, gender theory in our schools, gender ideology, the wolf and the sheepfold. We will look at three of these aspects. So the impact of this ideology, because it affects our children. The second is concerning the non-respect of parental authority, and the third would be on the pretended scientific position of this theory. So the first point, under the benevolent pretext of protecting inclusion, we are imposing an ideology. Our children are indoctrinated, encouraged to ask questions about their identity from a very young age by people in authority. The school is actually abusing its power over children who are still developing. It is indeed irresponsible to confront them with issues of gender identity or to make them think that they might have been born in the wrong body based solely on their feelings. Many children are traumatized, disoriented in their psychological and moral development. And I will now To clarify this, I will now go to a testimony which we receive constantly. Sadly, the people are afraid to testify publicly. Here's a testimony of a 5-year-old a boy who came home and he said, "Mom, I have to choose if I'm a boy or a girl." So you have children, you're very lucky if your children is not affected by this teaching. You know how a 5-year-old child will never question such a thing. In September, a 9-year-old child who came in the house, I'll change the name, but she's, yeah, I'm not Jean anymore. Now I'm John. The parents are confused. They go and see the school. So the school tells them you have to accompany that child or you risk that one day she will commit suicide. Another case, a 13-year-old child, 13, her mom goes and get it in the club at the school after the classes. And now she says to her mom, "Now I'm a boy." In both of those cases, I took those two cases because we get many of them, many testimonies. But in both of those cases today, the two child have turned around. The 13-year-old girl changed school, and the parents of the 13-year-old girl have been threatened that if the parents didn't follow this, that then they follow the therapy, they adopted, they accepted to call their daughter by the name of a boy because we threatened them that if they didn't do it, they're risking that the child would be kicked out of the school or the child protection would get involved. So now that girl changed school, and recently she removed the things that she was wearing to cover her breast. She started to wear a dress and she started to identify for what she understands she truly is. And same thing for the 9-year-old girl. Finally, she changed school and the child came back on with her identity based on her sex. Why impose this on our children, 5 years old, 9 years old, 13 years old in our schools, to have to live this kind of derangement, this confusion? So all those who are troubled, our children should have lived a peaceful, harmonious childhood, happy. So they are caught in a dilemma and a problem which has nothing to do as to with the age, their actual physical age. We'll see that a little later because it doesn't stop there. However, several countries, such as Scandinavian countries, Netherlands, England, which were the first to promote gender theory with trans affirmativeness, are reversing their policy because they found that this gender theory, which also promotes gender transition, constitutes a danger to the health of these children with irreversible consequences, such as infertility for the rest of their lives. Why in Quebec? When those countries which preceded us, and after many years of experimenting with this, understood it's a mistake. Why in Quebec we are not only teaching this, but in a mandatory way, teaching this to our children? That was the first point. Now, the so-called gender theory presents itself as being concerned with educating children about equality, inclusion, and respect for all, and the fight against discrimination, regardless of their ethnicity, gender, religion, culture, or beliefs. In reality, under the pretext of positive values, which the majority of the populations and we ourselves fully support, we know that the teaching of gender theory, in order to include a minority, in fact excludes the majority of children and short circuits the authority of parents who are nevertheless affirmed in the international and Quebec Charter as primary educators of their children. Does the school or the government now want to take ownership of this parental authority? We see that this is sliding very severely in that direction. It's only in Quebec that from 14 years old, a child has a right, without the parents being told, to go and have an abortion, to give organs, and today to take puberty blockers. Only in Quebec, this is starting at 14 years old. And gender ideology is taught and is a mandatory teaching. Parents are not allowed to take their children away from the course. And now let's see what the Charter says concerning parental authority. I will invite Mr. Jean-Léon Lafitte, Vice President of APPNE, to present what the Charter say about parental authority. Thank you, Isabelle. Yes, it's very important what you just said. Parental authority in Quebec, as we said, is one of the places in the world where authority is the most challenged. When we say 14 years old, don't find this outside of Quebec, because we allow them to take some responsibilities for which they don't have the maturity to understand all the implications, such which is whether it be abortion, changing of sex, giving organ donation. So we just want to quote certain texts that show that the role of parents is primordial for children. The first text, which is a foundational text, was written just after the Second World War, as we were worried about the rights. We wanted to protect human rights of all people. In this declaration in 1948, Article 26.3 says very briefly this: parents have a by priority the right to choose a type of education to give to their children. It's very important because in order to choose, we must have a choice. In Quebec, we have suppressed that choice. When we talk about this course, the CCQ is obligatory, which deny the parents the rights to remove the children from the school. There's not only that charter, there's a lot of articles which talk about Article 26.3. I will talk about the articles which we find in Quebec. In Quebec, we are taking from the Civil Code of Quebec, we took the same idea. We formulated it in this way. We say Article 599, the father and mother or parents have the right and duty of custody, supervision, and education of their child. And then Article 605, which completes this, says that whether the custody of the child has been entrusted to one of the parents or a third person, whatever the reasons, the father and mother or the parents retain the right to supervise his maintenance and education and are required to contribute to it in proportion to their means. What is a third party? All other persons, such as a teacher, a government, the Article 605, this we find it as well in the Quebec Education Act, which says that we do not have the right to go to against the education of parents and children and the education which we give to them. These notions are known by government, that are known from the leadership of the schools. We ask the school directors, we ask them who has the authority on the teaching of children, and effectively they never say that it is them who have the authority. They know that's not the case, but they count on the fact that many parents are not informed about those rights. The parent is ready to give his life for his child. That's why we gave that privilege to the children, to the parents, I'm sorry, to give the education to their children. So we thought that the parents are those who are the most to be trusted. It's not the governments who want to form the citizens to make them good voters. It's not strangers outside of the family. It's really the parents who have the best capacity. We have to remember this in all our conversations, and remember that whether it is the government or the school, the school administration, they count on the presumption that we ignore to impose things in. The parents have the right to choose education which they give to their children. If the parent considers that gender ideology from a scientific point of view is not right, he's allowed to ask for his children to be exempted. That was what I wanted to share on the Charter of Rights and Liberty and the rights of parents. In spite of what Jean-Léon said, we're faced with schools, example of some schools, some testimony which we receive constantly. Parents would tell us, I paid for a document which is called CCQ class, and I'm not allowed, the child is not allowed to bring that at home. So if you have children, ask the right to see the documentation which the children is receiving, which is the basis of the teaching of gender ideology. So we're facing to question the parents, and they want to have be able to understand clearly what is taught and when it is taught. Many parents request to see the content and it's never given to them. They ask to know the hours at which it is taught, and I'm told at what time, but after 2 or 3 classes, the teacher will still teach it at a different time, and my child has no other option but to do it. So the parents are asking to have their rights respected, the right to know what they're being taught, and they're being threatened for being bad parents because they do not understand the importance of gender ideology. And they can be threatened that child services will come to the door of their house. So we have to understand, we have to request that authority as parents. Some teachers, because we went around and one teacher said that he wanted to know what the teacher of another school did, and it was refused. One teacher who in her school, as in many schools, children are accompanied in the school to be named according to the gender which they are not. And we ask teachers to lie to the parents, to not tell the parents that Jean is now called John. So in the school, we always call them by the name requested, and then they will pretend to call them according to the original gender to the parents. And if the parents protest, the children might be kicked out of the school. So we see that whether it be with the parents or the teachers, there is a great challenge in relation to this teaching. The third point, the gender theory, which is presented as scientific, when in fact it is not. And major questions cast doubt on the assertions of this theory. Let's see with Jean-Léon what true scientific people say. Okay. I don't know if you will see on the screen the text we will read together, but I will read it to you. What I will read to you is a report by the American College of Pediatricians. It's a school I truly appreciate because there are hundreds of American pediatricians. So it's not only the board of directors that is talking, but hundreds of pediatricians must approve these texts. They have studied gender ideology and they made certain remarks, which I will share with you. We can find them in other countries by other scientific people. They're pretty complete. That's an example which we give you right now. So human sexuality is an objective binary trait. XY and XX are genetic markers of health, not genetic markers of a disorder. Second, no one is born with a gender. Everybody's born with a biological sex. Gender, or the awareness of the feeling of being male or female, is a sociological and psychological concept, not an objective biological one. Third, persons believe that they are something that they are not, is at best a sign of confused thinking. 4, puberty is not a disease, and puberty blocking hormones can be dangerous. 5, according to DSM-5, 98% of boys and 88% of girls with a confusion about gender differences eventually come to accept their biological sex after having went through puberty naturally. 6, children who use puberty blockers to pass as the opposite sex will need cross-sex hormones instead in late adolescence. Opposite sex hormone, testosterone, and estrogen are associated with dangerous health risks, including high blood pressure, blood clots, stroke, and cancer. 7, suicide rates are 20 times higher among adults who use transgender hormones and undergo sex reassignment surgery, even in Sweden, which is among the most LGBTQ-friendly countries. 8, to condition children by making them believe that it is normal and healthy to pass for an opposite sex through chemical and surgical means throughout one's life is a form of abuse. So I would like to add to this the CAS report, which had been requested by the government in England. It's a meta study on all the studies on gender ideology, and I only talk here very briefly. The CAS report said that there was bad quality in the studies that are published, and the absence of good data. So all the studies favorable to gender ideology are actually militant studies that don't really respect scientific criteria. With gender ideology, with something that is much more connected to fake science or charlatanism. So it's important to always have this in mind when we're going to come and say in Quebec that gender ideology is supported by science. Completely false. So we are in front of militant studies, and nothing so is very serious. There's a lot of experts throughout the world who will say quite the opposite, that effectively to apply gender ideology in school, to teach it, to support children to have mastectomy, castration, we are attacking ourselves to children with a psychological distress by mutilating their body, which is really a completely nonsensical answer to this problem. So here is a little bit of an answer to the scientific question. Now we will hear a teacher in biology of the University of Ottawa, Mr. Professor Chapleau. Lucas, please share the video. Sex is real and binary, sex, gender, and society with François Chapleau. Here are the definitions of gender ideology that come from the documents of the Ministry of Education of Quebec. Definitions of gender and of gender ideology, identity are in the same part talking about gender ideology. The text says gender ideology, personal experience, profound and intimate feeling about gender of a person. Gender is a continuum being understood as having two poles, masculine and feminine, but all these nuances and two poles are external and legitimate. Gender ideology can be different of the sex which was assigned at birth. A little further in the glossary, we say that this gender ideology can fluctuate in the time. Here are definitions coming from the glossaire of education of the new course on culture and citoyenneté. For gender, we say social process and historical of differentiation of hierarchization of men and women, as well as masculine and feminine. Gender is seen through norms, behavior, and significant definitions to these categories, which are poles of a spectrum containing a multiplicity of possibilities. Gender, ideology, and sex are in the same definition. The text say conscience or conviction of belonging to one or the other of the categories of sex or gender. Clearly, it is not desirable that definitions create more confusion than resolving. The first doesn't define gender, but explain that it is a continuum in the center. Second, we say gender is defined as a process. But we can extract from this definition that gender is referring to a social cadre in which lives a person, norms, behaviors, roles associated to the fact of being a woman, a man, a girl, or a boy, as well as relation between these categories. Gender ideology would be what is felt by a person in relationship to his gender. According to the first definition, the gender ideology is not limited to a continuum, masculine, feminine, but would be also into outside of this continuum. This can also include a biogender person close to nature, or close, the people have a gender, space gender close to space. In fact, there are tens of other gender felt identities. So children must teach respect of gender of minorities, but it's inconceivable to have definitions of sex that have no basis in science. It is terrible that by our concern to respect diversity, that we teach that gender is assigned, sex is assigned at birth, that it is on a continuum, or the children can trust entirely how he feels in order to know if he's a girl or a boy or other, without taking into consideration his biological gender. It is irresponsible to respect, to not respect, that is undeniable that we're male or female, and that this identification is there since the first cell of our being exists, and that it will be for our whole life. Sexual belonging is determined after when the sperm meets the ovulum and is present in all the cells of the body and will dictate the development of the reproductive circle and the determination of male and female. In a sense, the sexual identity of a person has a genetic foundation, a biological foundation. For example, the hormonal and also the social component. In the human, the word woman, it means the adult woman, female, and man represents a male adult. So this notion, anti-binary notion of gender and gender ideology have been imposed in the social and political and judicial environment and in our schools. And society has nothing to win by denying the reality of an observable. This is futile and is toxic for our capacity to live together well. This reality is evolving since over a billion years. Sex cannot be deconstructed on functions of sorry. So this is not put into question by various people with anomalies of. It's not also put into question by the complexity of the complexity, and they're not social constructs. Sexual categories who were not created by dominating classes to oppress sexual minorities or to impose heteronormativity in society. I cannot accept that our schools would facilitate this indoctrination. Why doesn't school satisfy itself to celebrate the variability inside of each sex, to celebrate the differences among sexes, and especially the free choice of each one to express themselves as they wish in all respects? It seems more productive than to propagate a pseudoscience and minds in development. I will now continue by talking of one of our concerns concerning how the definition of citizenship and of Quebec culture based on this ideology is being explained, because we're not able to define again what is a man and a woman. Where is the notion of citizenship going? When we see the whole history of Quebec and its culture based on strong families who build Quebec, where are we going when in a class there is never question of the reality of the relationship between a man and a woman? So Quebec culture is based on the strength of its families, and that nowhere is the very notion of family, father, mother, children mentioned in the books. Gender ideology is imposed in our schools since September 2024, and the CDS report of the Comité des Sages has not changed anything. Our president spoke to you about the protests or the demonstration where 10 to 15,000 people were gathered on 20th of September 2023 in front of the offices of Mr. Legault. But Mr. Legault decided to put together the Comité des Sages. He gave until 2025, spring 2025, to finally put out a report. We have presented our argumentation. Many other organizations have also presented answers to challenge this gender ideology, and there was never any question on the report. The only thing there was in relationship with the parents in the report was that we had to make sure to offer training so the parents can understand what is gender ideology. no recognitions of the concerns of the parents. So today, the leadership is omnipresent in all the leadership of. So it's not only the CCQ course, it's in the libraries, in the books, it's everywhere. And our society and is paying the price. So here, so for parental rights, we have issued a manifesto that we will read right now. We want you to take time to think about this manifesto and see your comments. I will ask Lucas, a member of the board of directors of EPPNE, to read the manifest. We ask the Quebec Minister of Education that in the name of respect for every child, regardless of their ethnicity, gender, religion, culture, or belief, all forms of ideology should be banned from our schools. That the indoctrination of primary and secondary schools students by a school program based on an ideology falsely presented as scientific truth be immediately stopped. Not to allow any minority group in the Quebec population to impose its ideology on our students. That in the name of the protection and primary interests of our children, the ministry immediately institute a moratorium by removing from primary and secondary school curricula any content that teaches gender theory as scientific truth. To respect parents as primary educators of their children and to remember that they entrust their children to our schools so that they can be educated, not so that the school can take the place of parents, particularly with regard to sex education. We claim the right of parents to object to content taught that they do not share. That the fundamental rights of parents are truly respected and not just on paper. To assume that we are angry, even more so since the publication of the report by the Comité des Sages, we have not been heard. As long as the ministry has not instituted a moratorium for 2025-2026 school year, as long as parents have not been listened to, we parents, along with all those who care about the protection of children, will continue to fight, to demonstrate, to withdraw our children from classes that can harm their physical, psychological, and moral health. We will never abandon our children. Signed by Alliance for the Defense of Parental Rights. So someone says I cannot stay until the end. Is it possible to see the recording? Yes, it will be on the website. I would encourage you to go and see our website, eppne.ca, and this will be shared in a few days. You will also see the previous conferences we gave. Someone says it might be a bit to instruct our children in private and organize ourselves in such a way to do it. So that's a possibility. One of our children is doing homeschooling. It is legal. You can do homeschooling. You register with a school in the area, and an inspector will come and see if the child is following the classes. And up till now, it's going very, very well. So that's, yes, that's a real possibility. Another possibility is to register in line with a school in Ontario. There are certain possibilities to escape from this system, But I think it's important to contest the system and that it can change. So those are various possibilities. I would like to answer also to this question. It's a possibility, but obviously we are preoccupied by our children, but not only by our children, by society as well. We want, as said Isabelle, put pressure on the government, to the government especially, to respect the right of parents, because if a society, if the school does not respect the rights of parents, it's like it's like as citizens we can withdraw children from to teach them ourselves, but if everybody does this, we will not have a voice. But we'll speak about this later. Someone asks, what can the teachers do? They are victims of the Ministry of Education. I am a teacher myself. I'm a retired teacher, so I'm very well aware that teachers are supposed to follow the programs, but teachers as us, we can together remind the government of parental rights, and that ideology does not have its place. We have the government as a part of the history of Quebec. We have wanted that schools be secularized, so there's no religious presence in school. There's no religious classes in school. Will we replace religion by ideology? Really, we totally disagree. Also, in the name of secularism. Jean-Léon also wanted to say something. The first point, of course, be it for their parents or teachers, is not to stay isolated. Find the contacts, whether it be parents or other teachers, who share your opinion on the gender ideology, to unite with them. And then to take contact with us. We'll be happy to talk to you and see what we can do to help you with your school. We accompany parents in their schools to help them to discuss with the direction of the school. One is question of gender ideology, which is imposed in schools. I want to remind that some pediatricians talk about practically of aggression on children, that adult reflections which they were not concerned and it was not appropriate for their age. We can take means to protect our children. The first way for a teacher is in a way or another to allow the parents to know the calendar, the agenda of the classes. So the parents can have the responsibility to withdraw their children. But it's one of the ways, if ever you are involved in those classes, do not hesitate to give full freedom to the children to not listen. We take every way. Go to the washroom during the class, to say that you're sick. Take every possible way, because in those classes, there's so many testimonies of parents who brought us things that were very troubling for the children. So whereas authority is the parents, it's us, but still we teach them, denying us our authority. We will take all the means to protect our children. I would say more than this, it's a duty to do it. So do not hesitate to contact us. We also have lawyers which we consult often on those questions. Every case is unique. Every teacher's situation is unique. Don't hesitate to communicate with us if you have other questions. If you have a comment on this answer, we will be happy to listen to you. Personally, I'm in accord with almost everything that is written in the manifest. I am opposed very strongly to the teaching of gender ideology. However, I'm in favor of scientifically based sex education at school. So that's his comment. So we as well. The only thing we ask that parental authority be respected. The first thing is that there's a stereotype of parents that we say they're not able to speak of sexuality to their children, but that should be respected. Is the parents first and foremost that knows his children, his rhythm, his age, knows that there is a latency period that is recognized in psychology, which in due time can ask questions. He will ask questions and then he can accompany. He doesn't need to ask for a stranger talking to a school of 30 children to come and teach on this subject. That we only request that the parents who want so can withdraw the student from that class and teach it himself, because it's the responsibility of the parent first and foremost to teach of sexuality to parents. Parents, if they think they're lacking training, they can find training or ask us for training. But it's a very big stereotype on parents. Parents are able to speak to their children, and they know their children much better sense of knowing their children than the teachers. So our position should respect the child and its rhythm, to respect parental authority. And we are totally agree that the teaching of biology and scientific evidences should be taught to children. And the prepubescent and during puberty is starting to ask questions about this. I have another comment. When I spoke to the people responsible for CCQ, they told me that the class does not teach gender ideology as in England or in Sweden. According to our government, gender ideology has nothing to do with gender ideology. So we have to specify this in discussion. What is the difference? There's no difference. I'm sorry to speak, but this point, I find it so wonderful. When we meet school directors, the first thing they say is that it's not being taught in the schools. And it's completely integrated in the CCQ course, and it's obligatory, it's mandatory. There's even a very big militant of UQAM, Madame Saint-Fasson, who pretended on television that it wasn't being taught in primary school. She was corrected right away in the debate by Jean-François Lisée, who showed him word for word in the program with the facts, showed him the books, the documents, and videos which were presented in primary school. There's no difference between question of gender ideology and gender ideology. It's the same notions. When we speak about, it's only militants who really speak about those notions. So gender ideology has to do with scientific notions who recognize there's no scientific basis for this. So we speak of the same thing in both cases. Maybe I can add something. I can suggest this video, which we have in one of our conferences that you can find in eppne.ca. This conference was called Gender Ideology, Actual Danger for Our Children. In that video, there is this video, which Jean-Léon was talking about, where Jean-François Lisée is answering and really put in a very bad position Annie Poulain Saint-Fasson, who says, but we don't speak of this. We only speak about stereotypes and so on. We don't speak really of this. So he puts a series of documents because he's very well documented, which contradicts this. The gender theory or gender ideology is the same thing. Gender theory becomes ideological when we impose it. When we oppose a theory, there's a lot of theories in the world, but when some people who believe in a theory, what is felt, and that we're imposing it to everyone, it becomes ideological. And we have examples of ideologies who have done a lot of harm in the world, and we're convinced that this ideology is in the process of doing a lot of harm to our world, not only in one continent, but really in a world level. And so, to answer that question, I would say that you should watch our conference, which we gave on that theme. If I can add one more point, to ask the teachers to see the book which is given to the children, the books, the videos, to see the content of what is being taught for the children. Do not allow them to tell you it does not exist. Request as parent to see the content that is being taught to your children. Then you can make yourself an opinion. Another question is it possible to send us by email all the documents that we just saw in order to defend ourselves well and also help other parents? I would say that yes, but go on our website and you will find all those documents. If some are not there yet, we will make sure that they are added, but everything which was presented today in the whole conference will be sent in total. We can also by email send you what you want, the manifest, and the points of the pediatricians and the CAP. We can send you those documents individually, but so what is the address of the website? eppne.ca. eppne.ca. These 3 documents, we can send them to you. Parents who take away their children or do not let them go to school expose themselves to sanctions, fines, and penal pursuits, according to Quebec.ca. What do you propose to do? Jean-Léon, you want to answer? Effectively, there are a lot of threats, but some of these normal steps, first you can meet the teacher. Second, if it doesn't work, you can meet the direction of the school. What's advised is to always have a witness with you, because by experience, some managements of some schools are ready to take pretty drastic measures. Please have a witness with you. You're allowed to record the conversation. If it doesn't work, when you met the teacher, meet the management of the school, and you can make a complaint to the protector of the student. During this whole time, you have the authority to, because you are in a process, in a legal procedure with the school, you can withdraw your child from this class and to ask them to give you the agenda of the sex education class. So if they don't give it to you, they can withdraw it right away. All the school needs is to know that the child is in security. So the child should be with you during that time. Those are normal processes, but this request that you move to ensure the protection of the child. The school uses a pretext that they don't want to send him to the library, so it's for you to take care of him. But you have the authority to do that, and they cannot stop you. During that time, file your complaint to the protector of the student, it's important that there be as many complaints as possible to the protector of the student to show that there are many parents who are refusing that class. So during that time, this is a normal process. There will not be penal legal complaints or pursuits. So you're following the procedures put in place by the government to make a complaint to the protector of the child. And during this takes a long time. When someone says, when I contacted the administration of the school concerning the schedule and content of the sex education class, all my requests were ignored. It was never answered. So that's it. So you have to make complaints. Yeah, we'll multiply those testimonies and complain with the protector of the student. For this reason, you can start the process of complaining to the protector of the student. So it's not necessarily someone from the school if you don't know any other parents, but it's always a friend. Have a witness with you when you meet the direction of the school and the teachers when you do your process. For the reasons you gave, you can file a complaint to the protector of the children. So it's becoming very serious. On the report on secularism, is that the parents should not be informed when their classes are being given. It has nothing to do with secularism, but it's part of the report. Our parental authority is being taken away from us. So we receive many testimonies. So we receive many testimonies from parents. We are stifled. It's not said publicly. It's just a question that'd be a parent that's on the other side. And there are tens and hundreds of parents, I'm sure, that are filing complaints like this, and they think they're all by themselves, but you're not alone. Tell us, filed a request to the protector of the student. We accumulate them, and eventually there's so many people, we can show it and prove it very quickly, and we can have impact on the government. Media, government, schools. Why do we not hear about this? This has been many years as we talk about this, that we want to be heard, but they don't want to debate it because they will lose. One of the first techniques is to let you believe that you're isolated when it's not the case. Speak with other parents, and you will see that many parents are in complete disagreement with what is being taught in classes. They count on the fact that you feel isolated. They always tell you that you only want parent to file a complaint. At this moment, there are parents taking their children away from class. Sometimes we find teachers who have the courage, because many teachers are conscious as well as what that was being taught. It makes no sense. Even some school management will give you the agenda. Some of them do. Some people are conscientious, are courageous also in the schools. There are some. So there are solutions. You can contact us personally for your situation, and sometimes we can accompany parents, as we did many times, to meet the direction of schools when we go all the way there, and advise you to the complaint to the protector of the student, I'm sorry. Another comment, some teachers of primary school, which I frequent, who are sensitized to gender ideology, say that they don't find that the CCQ is really sharing this kind of thought and don't see the real dangers of this class. They are surprised that we could be worried because they see nothing so bad in the text. What can we answer? Personally, they don't understand the text, or they're lying. I don't know which one of the two. So it's and gender ideology is filling up in those texts shared in primary all the way to secondary. If they didn't realize it, maybe that someone let them bring the books. and look at it with them, and you will see that it's quite evident. Yes, ask to see those books. Also referring to the video of Chaplot, who studied well the programs and definitions, and he commented them as well. He showed them as well. So the definitions of gender, of identity, gender identity, so is there. So when in the programs we give definitions as scientific truths to teach, we can't say that there is no, it's not part of the program. So, because it's those programs are translated to books and manuals. Many of those manuals are not even controlled. We learned this from the Comité des Sages. They found that many of the manuals, many of the material is being used to explain gender ideology, the theory, gender theory, are not approved by the government. That's where a lot of the material which is shared in gender ideology. And they are militants, they go into schools to not speak of drag queens. They influence and they come into the schools, and that's why we say we cannot allow those ideologies. So it's not uniquely the teacher, but it is those that come as well. Many of the professors are very uncomfortable with what they're supposed to see because they don't believe in it. They're not convinced of this theory for all the reasons that we talked about. So they let militant groups come and teach it because they themselves don't want to teach it. Someone is asking, is there a political party which supports the goals of EPP and an action should be taken with political parties? We need volunteers, of course. The Parti Québécois has lightly criticized it so that the debate could be public instead of Comité des Sages where everything is secret. Pierre-Paul Plamondon already said that never he would be obligated to speak to someone by using those pronouns. We're talking about a certain case as well. The Conservative Party, Eric Duhem, spoke many times of gender ideology in school, that he was calling this out, and the respect of parental authority. So we have to encourage him, whatever party, who will take our defense, who will take the defense of children like this. Someone says, sadly, even if you ask official documents from the teacher, the true teaching is during the discussion with the children. Children are not allowed to say what was said during the discussions. Is that true? Yes. They have the right to teach whatever they want. They can add what they want, and there's no, they're not being checked on this. I give often the example of what happened to my child. A teacher taught in school that in a high secondary 2 school, 13 years old, he said that they could have a sexual relation between different age of 2 years of difference of age. Secondary 4, secondary 2, they could have couples 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 persons. That they could be more numerous, up to 30 persons. Now they form a community. So a class community of sexual relations. And that in the community, in our couple, we are not committed, but we participate. This was asked. They call this polyamorous relationship. It's very far from concrete natural relations. the teacher could develop on this subject, the fact that there's no commitment in the couple, but I don't think it was in the program of the government. The teachers can say pretty much what they want. The child does not allow to explain in the class what is being taught. So this is very serious. My grandchildren in the school, one of the first things they teach, they say to the children, maybe the teacher knows better than the parents. But going too far as to say that to the children, they don't have allowed. But we have, I say to my own grandchildren, there's nobody that loves you more than your parents, your grandparents. If they tell you there's something, they tell you there's something you cannot tell your parents, that's the first thing you should tell your parents. We're trying to destroy the relation between parents and children. So that's a destruction of the child. We're destroying the cohesion of the family, of society. It's very serious. Our movement has to grow. The parents have to be mobilized for the protection of the individual. I won't name the person. We have a specialist in psychology that testified that the fact of showing to the children that we can't hide something, that we have to hide something from the parents, it's a form of abuse. It's a direct attack on his the confidence between the child and the parents. It's very serious. I'm not the right specialist, but someone else could explain it. So it was explained by specialists in child psychology. So the procedure itself, independently of gender ideology, to ask children to hide something from their parents is in itself an abuse on child and an attack on his connection of love and trust with his parents. I want to add something that to this. It's a characteristics of all ideologies who try to separate, to appropriate children, to separate them from their parents, to try to indoctrinate them. I won't say any more, but that's where we're at. Because to not recognize, to lie to the parents, as we did before, to not say the truth, to instruct teachers to lie to parents. This is a characteristic of a totalitarian ideology. Without trying to tell a big story, how can we react to this? So we really have to speak. We have to speak to one another. We have to unite with one another and know that we are not alone. Otherwise, we will be squashed. Someone asked a question. It's a question of strategy and action. I want to know if the strategy is viable. To put a complaint regarding sexual acts is immediately receivable without having to wait from the school for 10 days. Would that be a good strategy? Jean-Léon, do you have an answer to this? I would say maybe as a second attempt to gain time. If it's more quick to protect your child, but take the steps to take the longest time to take your child away from the class, to keep him with you, because what we saw from the protector of the student for now, we take it as a way to take time to go faster, but the protector of the student is paid by the government, and in the majority of the cases, his answer is simply to answer to everybody. We verified that the government is teaching what. So you don't have any right to comment on the comments of the school. So the school can lie to the protector of the student, and you won't be able to contradict them. So The protector of the student is a tool to gain time and protect your child. If to want to go more quickly, I don't see the benefit because the protector of the student, I doubt that it will gain. And anyway, all the experiences we have, the protector of the student never supported the parents. So parents, we are the center of information. So I made such a request to the protector of the student, and by accumulating those, we will then turn to the government. For now, we don't have enough who gave us their coordinates. I will now do the call to action. Certainly, it's limited. If you have other ideas, don't hesitate to add it. First, as teachers and parents, share the manifesto. Parents, please, we will soon have the first week or second week of school. There will be a general assembly of parents. And we realized lately that parents are not always informed. Make sure to go on the site. If you're not, present yourself to the General Assembly, and from there, present yourself as a member of the Conseil d'Établissement. Same thing for the teachers. If you want to support teachers who want to bring it to the Conseil d'Établissement, be there on the Conseil d'Établissement. At the Conseil d'Établissement, do not be there just to defend gender ideology. Be there to be interested in the school. And when you feel like you have confidence, the school has confidence in you, then bring the subject and find allies with other parents. Don't come like a bulldozer. Be sure to understand the school, establish a relationship with other members of the Conseil d'Établissement to be received well with respect with the day where you're going to address this issue. So the General Assembly, on first and second year of secondary. So what I saw recently is parents did not receive the information or did not see it. So be informed, teachers as well. Follow us in our conferences, on our website, and our social networks. Become member of EPPNE and register as a volunteer. And I want to thank all the volunteers who came to help us in the distribution of leaflets in parking lot for parents. So at this time, we are putting in place an action plan for the beginning of the school year, and we need volunteers. We do not tell you what our plans are because we are usually confronted with violent people. So we try they tried to follow us in the parking lot. We were all over everywhere, so they couldn't find us. So we were everywhere. So we did primary, secondary school, and we were calling on the students, which allows us to be asked by Patrick Lagacé on his radio program to interview us. It's the first time that a television radio program receives us and put the debate on the table. We try to communicate with media, radio, video. We never have an answer. We have the social networks. Mass media are the one that are ignoring us or censoring us. Rebel News, Theovox, Alternative News are there to help us. They helped us a lot. I didn't mention it today, but I should have. But I want to say that no mass media gave us the platform and gave us a chance to express ourselves. It's through social media and alternative media. So next point, take your children out of the schools that are against your values. So Jean-Léon spoke to you about that. And share your testimonies. More testimonies we have, the better. And even if it's anonymous, give us your testimony. You have in the website your testimony. So I conclude officially. by taking the conclusion of the manifesto. So long as our minister will not have instituted a moratorium for the school year 25-26 and following, so long as the parents will not have been listened to, we parents, along with all those who care about the protection of children, will continue to fight, to demonstrate, to withdraw our children from classes that can harm their physical, psychological, and moral health. We will never abandon our children.